everyone, it's Lisa from I Dream in Soap. Welcome to my channel and thanks for dropping by. Now, for the soap this week, it's basically, I've had quite a few customers contacting me because I've been out of a certain fragrance in my stock, in my shop for a little while, and that's honey wash fragrance. So it's about time I made a honey wash soap so I can get all these lovely people some soap they want. Now, normally with a honey wash soap, I do a sort of honey pot and a bee, that type of thing. And I'm a bit kind of fed up of that design because I've done it several times. So I'm going to do a new design and it's going to be sort of like a bubble bath design. So I think that will be really cute. So the first thing I'm doing now is I'm just going to extrude some yellow soap dough, and I'm using a little duck extruder that I make and will be for sale in the shop. And this is going to be a little rubber duck floating on our bath. So I'll just get that extruded. I've just been using my small Fimo Professional extruder to make this little duck, just because I just need one little strip of a fairly small embed, so there's no need for me to use my really big extruder that I sell in the shop. The next thing I want to extrude is going to be some little bubbles. So I'm just going to use some white soap dough for this. So this is obviously made with titanium dioxide. And just a round circle disc. So these I can just extrude out. I want quite a few of these, so I'm going to extrude quite a bit of this.
Hey darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city light.
And then I'm just going to sort of roughly measure it out to size, just to see how I'm going, see how much more I need to extrude.
Hey darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now.
Okay, so I'm thinking I want 8 bubbles in my design, so I'm just going to get 4 out of that, so I can just do that again, and that should give me the 8 that I need.
Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city, let's drive to the open air. Yeah, the countryside is so pretty, with the wind blowing in your hair.
And then the last little thing I want to extrude is a tap. So I've just got some antique silver soap dough here. My antique silver again is from Mica Mama.
We can look back someday, baby, don't you understand that we only...
Now when I've got especially a little extruder like this, but I do it with my big one as well, if I've got it, I only need it for one thing. I do tend to, as you can see here, I need to extrude a bit, sort of about the same size as my mould lid. I always tend to extrude a bit more. Sometimes I might want to use it for a top. But what it also allows you to do is just have a look through what you've extruded and make sure that then when you cut it, you can then pick the best bit out. And by extruding it out, it sort of cleans out your extruder a bit. Anyway, you know, you had to get all that soap dough out anyway. So I can see here, I got a few little bubbly bits at the start. So because I extruded more than I needed, I can actually go in past those bubbles. I've got a little mark on my mould for the length I need to cut things. There we are. And then that'll get me the best bit of the extrusion to go into my soap. I'm going to pour my first layer of soap, and I just need a very small bit of soap. So this is going to be sort of a bit of the background colour, the wall colour that's going to be behind my bath. But because I'm doing a sort of sloped bath, I'll bring a picture up here on the screen. It's just going to be the little bit in the corner. So I'm just going to get my mica in that I need for this. Okay, I'm going to blend that mica up in my oils first of all. And as it's only a very small bit of soap, I'm obviously putting it in a small pot and using my little mini mixer, because a small amount of soap like this, I know this is only oils at the moment, you just wouldn't get it over the base of your stick blender. So let's get that lye solution in. And now my fragrance oil, and as I said, I think I said before, this is Honey Wash from Gracefruit in the UK. So because I want a thin bit up the side of my soap, I obviously don't want to pour a whole soap full and then scrape it out. So I'm just going to tip my mould on an angle and just get this in here. It's nice and fluid at the moment, which is good. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that to set up. I'm not sure, let me see if you can see. Can you see it's just sort of poured in on the side. So I'm just going to leave that to set up a bit and then I'm going to scrape that layer. I think we're all set up ready to scrape now. So I've just got a small scraper. I just need to get that little corner out. So I haven't bothered to make it the width of the mould because obviously this can slide down the side of my mould and keep everything nice and straight for me. And then the other thing is that I'm going to be using this colour again for the rest of the background. So anything I scrape off, I'm going to pop the surplus straight into the oils for my background so that can just be mixed in and reused. Okay, so I'm just going in, it's a bit tricky to get this on the camera, and just making sure I lay this flat against my mould. Okay, and just going through and just repositioning any soap. If I'm not getting the shape that I want, I will just go through and reposition it to make sure I've got the shape that I want all the way through. Okay, so I've got that pretty well done. And can you see I've just got a little bit of mess in there that I just need to clear up. So I'm just going to do that and then we'll do that next layer. Actually, one thing I thought I'd do before I started clearing up the rest of that mould is if ever I reuse something in a further layer, what I'll do is you don't want this to set up and go all stiff and then give you lumpy problems in the future. So as long as you haven't got too much, if you had loads of it, you don't want to overpower the oil that you've got in here. Is what you want to do is get it in here, get it into your next layer and even stir it in, or even just give it a blend to just break it all up and get it really mixed in with that oil, and then it won't give it any problems with it setting up. Okay, so that's the oils I need for when I finish off the background of the soap. Okay, now obviously that worked really well for using up any of those scrapings. But clearly, as I said, you don't want to have it, if you had loads of scrapings, you don't want to put all of those in there and then risk up thickening up your soap too early. Okay, but that little amount I had was perfect. So I've just mixed up my next layer and that's just going to be white, so I've just got titanium dioxide in it. And I'm just stirring in my fragrance now. That's at 83 degrees Fahrenheit. I might actually give that a little blast in the microwave just to warm it up, just so it sets up a little bit quicker. Okay, so I've given that about 20 seconds in the microwave. And there, 107, so that's quite good, just over 100 there, that'll be nice. And that'll just help it set up so I don't have to wait too long to scrape my next layer. I'm just going to pour this in. Just a nice simple straight pour. Oops. Including that bit that I missed and went down the side. Okay, there we go. So that again, I'll just let that set up and then we'll come back when that's ready to scrape. I think I'm all all nicely set up again now, so I'm going to scrape the top bit of my bath. So I'm just going to pop my scraper in with my scraper guide. And just bear in mind, whenever you do scraper soap, if you're quite careful to not pour too much, you may always have to just reposition a bit of soap in. If you don't like doing that, you can just always pour a lot higher, but it does mean you will be scraping more soap out of your design. And potentially either sort of wasting it or just really just having to use it in something else as a sample soap or something. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm just going to be careful with it because it's still a little bit loose, to be honest. But because it's quite a flat scrape, that one, it didn't worry me too much to start scraping it. So I'm just going to leave that to set up a little bit more before I get on with my next layer. I've just cleaned up the sides of my soap, and now I'm just going to pop my little rubber duck in. Obviously, it's a soap dough duck. I'm going to cut to size. And now what I'm going to do is mix up the soap that I need to make the bubbles that are going to be bubbling out of the bath. Let's now get on to our bubbles. So I've mixed up some white soap and then I've tinted some a little bit, just light blue, just so I've got a slightly bluer colour on the bottom. Just because obviously I don't want the white bubbles being the same as the white bath and us not being able to distinguish between them. Okay, so I'm just going to get that little layer of light blue in. And then I'm just going to bring this white in on the top. I'm actually going to tilt this a bit. Okay, I think that'll be fine. Again, I'm just going to leave that and we'll scrape that when we come back. Right, I've got my little bubbles here. So I'm now going to scrape these. And I've got to be careful, obviously, because I've got my duck underneath those bubbles. So I don't want to end up damaging my duck. So we'll just see. I'm just going to go in gently at first and take off one bit. I've been all efficient and cleaned up all my jugs in the meantime, so couldn't find something to scrape into. Right. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to tidy up these sides again. And then one of the things I want to do next is I need to get my little tap in. So I'm just going to tidy up these sides and then get that tap put in.
What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing about your heart. Maybe the trees will whisper the word. Maybe the sun will spread your joy to the ones who lost their hope. Fill my head with roses. I can't help but dream away. Standing on a field with you and flowers everywhere. Dreaming of you.
So here we are with our soap for the next day. Those little ducks look so cute on top. I really like those. So let's get this cut and see how we're doing. Right, so let's have a look at how this has come out. Remember, it was our little bathtub with all lots of bubbles in. Hey! Oh, that's come out really cute. My little tap, can you see that? That's gone a bit on the wonk where I try to push it in, and I've obviously sort of pushed it in a little bit wonky, but I'm really pleased with that. Look at that, we've got our bathtub and our cute little duck there, and that sort of the little blue bit of colour just to separate that from the edge of the bath with our bubbles, and then our bubbles floating up to the top. So I'm really pleased with that. I think that's come out really sweet. It looks like my microphone's gone all weird again, so I do hope you like this soap and you've enjoyed the video. I do really like the new design. I'm really pleased with it, and it's nice to make a change from the sort of honey pot and honey bee. And for those of you who were waiting for a honey wash soap, this will be in the shop as soon as this is cured. So thanks ever so much for watching the video. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy soaping!